wanted to put a warning slide up. The name of my project is Don't Be the Frog in the Boiling Pot. And I dug out my 2004 senior picture, so you're welcome for that. So the fable is just the premise of the fable is that if a frog is suddenly put into a boiling pot of water, obviously it's going to jump out in an attempt to save its life. But if the frog is put into tepid water and then gradually the water is brought to a boil, it won't notice the impending danger and just get cooked to death. This story is often used as a metaphor for the inability or lack of awareness people have to react to or be aware of sinister plots that arise gradually around them rather than just being thrown into the deep end. In order for you to follow my rabbit hole, I'm going to retrace my steps so you can kind of understand how this whole project came to fruition. So first, and this is how I introduced myself last fall, was that I love learning about serial killers, serial rapists, and cult leaders. I have my select few that I honestly love to learn about, but because they are from different walks of life, different interests, and different crimes, I was like, how can I make this all be one cohesive project and I can still talk about all the things that I love? And so, since I'm a communications major, I was like, well, how do all of these different criminals communicate with their prey? And I came to the conclusion it's persuasive communication. So I thought back to when I took persuasive comm for class, and I started with the two books that we were assigned in class, and one was Influence: The Psychology of Persuasion, and it had these key principles as to why communication, or how to make yourself a better persuasive communicator. And when I was looking at the criminals I was looking at, I was actually pretty impressed because a lot of their talking points, their tactics towards getting people, by persuading their prey, they fit with these. So reciprocity, the give and take, consistency, their message was consistent, their actions were consistent. Social proof was kind of like, well, I've worked with this president, or I've worked with this celebrity, or look at how big my church is, kind of thing, which also gave them authority. And liking is just, they're usually, these criminals are very charismatic. And the scarcity factor was more of like a, like, you'll never get this opportunity again, or like, I'm only here because I want to date you. Like, I leave, I'm never coming back. So, and then the second book we looked at was Made to Stick, and this was the success model. It spells out success without the last S. But when I looked at these criminals again, I was like, wow, it is like their message is simple. Most of the time it's unexpected. Just because, like, if it's in an area of your life that you absolutely love and you come into the presence of somebody who's like a god or like a president, or you get starstruck by this person. So usually it's an unexpected thing. Concrete and credible, I feel, go hand in hand because they are spinning their own web of lies, their own truths, whatever, to make themselves look more believable, more concrete. And emotional, I would just say, like, I'm going to talk about Jim Jones, and so he would do like these fake faith healings that would get an emotional response, and people would become emotionally invested. So that's another way. And then through stories, again, like I said, it was, the web of lies that they would spin, and whether people believed it or not. So then I stripped it down even further, and I was like, okay, it's not just persuasive communication. They are communicating to these people in a way that is like, it's lies and manipulations, and that's where I came across coercive control and manipulation. This is one of the pieces of discourse analysis that I use to kind of show commonalities between all these criminals, along with, we'll talk about after this slide, is psychopathy and the psychopathy checklist. And but for right now, like with coercive control, to be perfectly honest, I could talk about that probably for a full like 30-45 minutes, because there's a lot of different layers to dark psychology. And I went to a very dark place when I was doing this project, trying to learn how people, become masters of manipulation. And so the baby steps that are taken for coercive control and grooming just means, you're kind of like nudging them to go into the right lane that you want them to be in. That's what these criminals are doing. And so with coercive control, you're looking at people being isolated from their family and friends. They are made to feel worthless. They're told daily, like, I'm the only one that loves you. Your family doesn't love you. They'd be checking in on you if this was the case, or, coming up with stuff like that. A lot of the times, the coercive control just comes from the celebrity aspect of, like, this person is my idol, or this person's been in the business for so long. And then slowly but surely, their privacy and their independence is completely stripped away. And some characteristics of people that are master manipulators and use coercive control is they have megalomania. So it's like a godlike complex. They are above everything. They are the president of the world, or the king of the world, whatever. And they also start thinking, I'm above the law. The law can't touch me, because they're testing these boundaries with their prey. And they're like, you know what? If this person is letting me get away with all this stuff, obviously, like, the law can't touch me, because, like, I'm getting away with all this. And so the second piece of discourse that I used was the psychopathy checklist. Dr. Hare came up with these 20 traits that are found in psychopaths, and I decided to just put the first 6 just because, that's way too much slide information for one, but that also paints a really good picture of exactly, what kind of character you're looking at. Usually they are very charming. They have a high sense of self-worth. Their need for stimulation, which just is, it's not like, they have to be constantly going. It's constantly having like a pipeline, or, fresh victims all the time to manipulate. They're pathological liars. They're very manipulative, and they have a lack of remorse or guilt for what they have done or what they have planned to do. So for this project, it wasn't just about comparing apples to apples, like I said, not just, murderers to murderers, rapists to rapists, that kind of thing. I wanted to show that you could find this in like every interest in life, and that these interests also contain different layers of criminal behavior. So the different areas in your life that we're going to be looking at is yoga, believe it or not. There was a university and an Olympic doctor. There's also been, I looked into some coaching too, that coaches have taken advantage of people that they've been in charge of. There's religion and online dating. Now, the crimes that we're going to cover is rape, mass murder, and blackmail. Let's just jump right into it. So the first guy here is Bikram Chaudhry. He's the one that marketed hot yoga, and these are some other interesting facts about him. If you go on Netflix, underneath his name, I wrote down the documentary that you can watch if you would like to. But his thing was he would isolate people, he would isolate women during his teacher trainings, and that was also his constant pipeline, how he got victim after victim after victim, because he was a rapist. And because they were at these teacher trainings, they were isolated, no phone, no contact, no nothing. And so he would be able to amass all these followers and be able to have a pipeline to all these women. Second is Jim Jones. We all know him from Jonestown. There's been multiple documentaries about it. I read two books that are under his name, which is Road to Jonestown and Raven. These are some factoids about him, but his isolation was once you're a part of the church, you're a part of the church. Like, you don't really talk to your family outside of it, you don't talk to your friends outside of it, and if you defect, oh Lord, help you. His pipeline was going around and just like doing these fake faith healings. He was also very he started off with good intentions because he was very much about race relations and race equality, because he started back when civil rights was going. Moving on, John Mahan. He was a master manipulator, and he would take advantage of women on online dating apps. And so, what he would, with his last victim, Deborah Newell, which is the wedding picture at the bottom there, he he isolated her from her girls, from her other family, and then he also continued to talk to after they were married. He continued to stay on like Plenty of Fish, Match, and all of that. And what he would do is he would get the girls to send him nude pictures, and then he would turn around and say, well, if you don't send me X amount of dollars, then I'm going to send this to your boss, or I'm going to go and paper your neighborhood and everybody's going to know what you look like naked, or I'm going to send these pictures to your family. So he was like conning women left and right out of money. It was absolutely ridiculous. And last, I wanted to talk about Larry Nassar. He was the Olympic gymnastics daughter, and doctor, and he was also the Michigan State athletics doctor. And he is a serial rapist, and he preyed on young girls. He would usually go and he would go to these camps, and the girls would be isolated from their families. They'd be beaten down by the coaches that were trying to, get them up to the Olympic level. And then he'd come in and he'd be the good guy and like treating them all nice and all this. And the way that he did his manipulation, I will show a little clip. Um, Pretty sad.
When he would talk to the parents while he was doing this. And so it was confusing. The first time specifically, my dad was in the room, and I just, first I was like, what? Is this normal? What is going on? And then a little bit of thinking about it, and I was like, okay, well, my dad's on the other side of the room, so maybe it's normal. And then I'm like, but does he know what's happening? I don't know if he does. Well, how do I ask about this? I can't ask about this. And then you think, well, he's a doctor.
I didn't think that had happened to her because I had no idea. I was there. I thought I saw everything.
She was with me at every single appointment.
Was your mom always with you?
Yeah, she was always in the room with me. Having your own parent there, and he's still able to manage to get away with what he did, even with someone else in the room. That's really scary.
This is a grooming behavior. The parent's sitting there, the child's watching the parent. The child doesn't want to tell the parent this is going on, but believes the parent must know because it's happening right in front of them, so it's okay. So what happens later on? The parent doesn't come in the next session, and instead of it being a 2-minute procedure, it ends up being a 45-minute procedure. The young girl thinks it's okay because mom and dad were sitting in the room before.
I know.
Really huge landmark case that he was a part of, and extremely sad to see the girls abused in such a way. But this just kind of is my conclusion here, is that not only should you be asking the right questions of your actions and reactions, but also the actions and reactions of others. The key is awareness and advocating for those who may not have found their voice to speak up on what is happening. And to bring it completely full circle, the prey are the frogs, and so we need to be aware for them. Thank you.